Hello and welcome back to our 9-month ultimate world cruise adventure. And today we've made it to the very northern tip of New Zealand, where we're going to have an amazing glowing time.
Welcome to Living Phase 2.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Nancy, and we're empty nesters striving to live life to the fullest.
And we're living that full life aboard Royal Caribbean's 9-month ultimate world cruise on Serenade of the Seas.
We are, and friends, today we're in Bay of Islands in New Zealand, and we are going on a glowworm tour. This was a private tour that was arranged by a friend of ours through Bay of Island Tours, and it was the shore excursion glowworm experience. And this was a fun tour for us to go on. We started out by going to an overlook, and we could see our ship and
Bay of Islands,
the Bay Islands. It was very pretty. And our next stop was called Haruru Falls, and that was a very pretty waterfall. And
it was no Iguazu, but
well, no, we've seen a lot of waterfalls.
We have seen a lot of waterfalls,
but it was very pretty. And the neat thing about this is you could actually walk on the rocks to the fall.
On top of the falls.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
And they just said to be very careful that some of the rocks were slippery, but the dry rocks were fine to stand on and to walk out on. And you actually did that and got some really pretty pictures for us.
Yeah, it makes more of a unique perspective. Usually you just see waterfalls from the bottom or the front. And it was kind of a little fun hiking out there onto the rocks.
Yeah.
So, And where'd we go next, Nancy?
Well, our next stop was the glowworms, the Kawakawa Glowworm Cave.
Right.
Mike, why don't you tell them about the glowworm trip?
Yeah, of course. Well, we stopped at a particular one that, as Nancy mentioned, was the Kawakawa Glowworm Cave. And this one is it's privately owned. It's been held in the same family forever. Their great all the way back. Grandmother was a chiefess of the indigenous people here, of their tribe. She found the cave, and this land has been in their family forever. And so they run this glowworm cave. And they're great stewards of it, and it's a really nice experience. So when you go in, it's important to note that, first of all, don't expect to take pictures inside.
Right.
Yeah, no film, no videography, nothing like that is allowed.
We could take it right up to the entrance of the cave, and then we had to stop.
Right. So what you'll see here in some of these pictures, you'll see us going in, and then you'll see some pictures coming out, but we did not film inside, with respect to their request to do that. And the other thing to realize is being a cruise ship in port, as many of you know, can often, let's just say, change the environment, right? There's the Heisenberg principle. If you can't ever see something, or measure something without impacting it. And being a cruise ship, you're going to impact experiences in a port, and that's what's happening here. So normally, if you just go out there, drive out yourself on a day when a cruise ship is not in port at Bay of Islands, you're going to get a great experience where you go into the cave, you walk through, you have pauses, you see the glowworms, and then you actually go out the back of the cave, walk up a ridge, and go on a little hike. We didn't do that. So with the cruise ships being in port, we walked in about 200 meters into the cave. We had 2 stops and 2 experiences where it was see the glowworms, and then we came back out. A couple of things to note. They do have lights with you initially when you're going in.
Yes.
About every 5th to 8th person or so has a lantern. But once you get to the spot where the first viewing is, then they have everybody turn the lanterns off, get your eyes to adjust, and then that's when you can see the glowworms. If you're, let's just say, afraid of the dark, if you're a little claustrophobic, this is a cave. It's a nice cave to go through. You just want to be aware of that, but it was a great experience. I thought it was really neat.
Yeah, it really was. And it's all on a wooden walkway, so it really is a very easy walk to do. We've had friends tell us about their glowworm experience where they actually took a boat ride in. So
not this cave.
Cave, a different cave. So know what glowworm experience you're signing up for. And we do have a little stock photography of the glowworms.
We got off the internet that kind of give you an idea what a glowworm looks like.
Yeah.
But just really, you're standing there in the pitch black darkness, and it looks like stars. I mean, it's really the best way to describe it. And it's a neat experience.
It was very cool.
Yeah, we're glad we did that, and glad we saw the glowworms of New Zealand. That was one of those boxes for us to check that we said this was something on our world cruise adventure that we did want to see.
That's true.
And you enjoyed it?
I did.
Yeah, good.
I did enjoy it very much.
So we got back on the bus from the glowworms, and where'd we head?
Well, we went to the little town of Kawakawa,
Yeah.
and what Kawakawa is famous for are their bathrooms,
Yes.
their toilets.
That's right. We actually didn't have a bathroom stop. We had toilets on our itinerary
was
as
a
a
bathroom
sight to see.
stop.
And it was a bathroom stop, too.
So these toilets, these are the most photographed toilets in New Zealand, friends.
Yeah, and actually some of the most photographed toilets in the entire world.
Yes. They were designed by Frederick Hundertwasser.
Mm-hmm.
He is an Austrian, and he didn't believe in straight lines.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is very curved and architectural.
Very bright colors,
Yes.
tiles. Yeah.
And so even the whole town has kind of taken that theme upon itself to kind of reflect these toilets, so you can see them here.
Yeah, and the reason he built them here is, even though he's Austrian, he spent the last part of his life here in Kawakawa and loved this area, and so he built these toilets and donated them to the town to have a nice set of public restrooms in the town that people could use. And actually, right behind the toilets is the Frederick Hundertwasser Museum that you can go to. Now, we didn't have time to actually go to the museum. I've heard it's actually very good, but like Nancy said, we went for a stroll, and you can see the impact of Hundertwasser in this town, and this was also our lunch stop,
Yeah,
so
it
we had a
was.
little bit of time to get some lunch.
All right, we got some fish and chips at a little bakery of all places, but it was really quite good.
Yes, it was. Yeah, the fish and chips were really good. I had just a sausage, and that was a good stop. And by the way, our guide made it very clear: it is not Hundertwasser, it's Hundertwasser. So his name literally translates from German into 100 waters. Hundertwasser would be dog water, so don't get that wrong. Well, after Kawakawa, where'd we head, Nancy?
Well, we got back on our bus, and as we were driving to our next destination, we saw some kiwis growing on trees.
Yeah, that
there.
was actually quite fascinating how those were laid out.
Yeah. And then we got to the Manjanangina. Okay, and I may not be pronouncing it correctly, so forgive me, friends,
And we'll put
not.
it down here at the bottom so you can actually see how it's pronounced.
Yeah, it was a scenic reserve, and it has these kori trees. These are old, they're huge trees, beautiful. And these are some of what that would be considered native trees to New Zealand that were here before settlers even came to.
Yeah, this is the original old growth forest. So most of it, unfortunately, was cut down by the settlers that came into New Zealand, because these trees are massive. They make excellent wood for housing, for whatever. And so of course they see these massive trees and they're like, oh, look, wow, it's, let's cut all these down and use them. And fortunately, this reserve, they were still preserved, and they are stunning walking through
they really
this
were.
reserve. Now, it's important to note at this reserve, it's a very, very easy walk. It's about a quarter mile. It's
Maybe
all
just
on
a hair more,
boardwalk.
yeah.
You just make a loop, but you get to see all the plant life but mainly the kori trees are beautiful. So it's certainly worth a stop here to see what New Zealand looked like hundreds of years ago when all these trees were originally here. But now these trees are protected. You can cut none of them down for any reason within New Zealand. But we're going to actually show you some kori wood carvings, and we'll tell you how that happened here in a little bit. But I really enjoyed that stop. That was very beautiful.
That was nice.
Well, after we left the old growth forest, where'd we head then?
Well, we went to a kori workshop, which here we've told you those trees are protected, and yet I'm holding a little wooden Christmas ornament
How'd
that
you
was
sneak
made
that
out
out
of
New
kori
Zealand?
wood. Well, this is rather interesting, friends, that there's been times when there's been flooding, and when flooding has happened,
Like
these
actually
trees
massive tsunamis that have wiped out all the plant life and everything in New Zealand.
have naturally caused the trees to fall, and then they're covered with mud and dirt, and then the trees are protected. I mean, they're protected from the oxygen and
From rotting.
and people have been able to go and dig up these trees, and then they can use that wood. That's okay to use.
Right. So what'll happen is a farmer will be there. Somebody will knock on their door and say, "Hey, we think you've got some kori wood trees, down 50
In your
feet in the
field.
mud under
Yeah.
your fields. Can we dig them up? And by the way, here's a bag of money if we can find them. And
Yeah.
of course, the farmers are like, sure, go for it. And they dig up these old trees. They take them off to use them, but they use them
And they're-
mainly for carvings
they're
and
beautifully
souvenirs and
preserved,
things like
yeah.
that. Maybe some furniture, but very expensive wood to use because you can think about, this wood is potentially thousands of years old being preserved. So yeah, you collect Christmas ornaments,
Yep,
and this one's got a little kiwi
yes,
in
it
it for New
does.
Zealand.
That's
so
very sweet.
yeah. So that was nice that we actually got to bring a little of that there, and that is completely legal to use the reclaimed quarry wood when it's been buried and then they dig it up. So, well, after we finished up in the quarry wood factory souvenir shop, then where'd we head then?
We went to the McKenna chocolate factory.
Yeah, which happened to be in the same parking lot. You literally just
Yes.
walked back and forth between the two. Yeah.
And we had a few New Zealand dollars left
Yeah.
that we didn't necessarily want to bring home. So,
So we got a
we
little-
got some chocolate. They were giving away samples, and that's some chocolate toffee, and
Right.
so good.
Yes, it was
So
really good. So we brought some to share on the ship, and it was very good. It was too good, actually, too tempting. Well, after the chocolate factory, it was time to head back home to our ship. We drove back to the yacht club, to the marina, got on our tender, and headed back to the ship.
We did. We ate dinner in the main dining room, and after that, we went to see the headline show, which was called Strings Alive. It's a couple, and she played the violin, and he played the guitar, and they had so much energy.
Yes.
It was really a very good show.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. The music
too.
selection was great. The variety. They were just fascinating to watch. Yeah, I
Yeah.
enjoyed that a lot.
And after that, they had a balloon drop. Although we didn't stay completely for the balloon drop because we were tired.
Yeah.
We'd had a big day.
But they're celebrating us finally making it to Australia. And,
Yes.
many people have asked, what port, what are we most excited for? And Nancy's always said the Asian countries. For me, it's been Australia. Never been there, been fascinated with Australia my whole life, and so we're getting excited. So they had a balloon drop, and yeah, I'm really excited about it. So the next day was a sea day.
The next day was a sea day. It was relatively normal. There was a captain's corner talk where the captain came out and answered questions.
The head of the hotel and also the chief engineer were there too, answering anybody's questions that they asked about the ship or the voyage. Yeah, that was really nice.
People always come up with good questions too,
Yeah,
so
they
it's
do.
interesting to hear what they have to say.
Right. Now, one thing, we were crossing from New Zealand to Australia. You crossed the Tasmanian Sea, and it was quite rough.
It was. We were really rocking.
Yeah, it was. And some people were kind of comparing it to the Drake Passage. I don't think it was quite as bad as that, but we moved around a lot.
We did.
Yeah, we really
I handled
did.
it well. I was
Oh,
proud of myself.
I
for
think
that.
we've got our sea legs pretty well now.
We're doing good.
Yes, we really are.
That night we went to the early headline show, Scared Weird Little Guys.
They were hilarious.
It was a couple of men who
Yeah.
they actually sang quite good, but they were funny.
Uh-huh.
Another really good show by Royal Crew.
Oh, they were hilarious. They played off each other so well and singing
Yeah.
and just a real, almost a Smothers Brothers kind of relationship. But yeah, I enjoyed them a lot. But then we went to the main dining room for dinner,
We did.
and it was the goodbye because we're almost at the end of another mini leg. And so every time we finish
Days are flying.
yeah, so the World Cruise is broken up into 17 mini legs, and every time we get to the end of a mini leg, the main dining room, does a big song and dance and thank you, and gives us a chance to thank them and applaud and thank them for
Yes.
all their hard work. It's just a tradition that as each cruise ends, that they do this. And yes, unfortunately, some people are going to be getting off in this mini leg
That's
as we
right.
head into what's our next port?
Our next port,
Sydney.
Sydney.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. This one, we've been waiting and waiting. We are going to climb the Sydney Bridge, and we've been waiting for this one the whole World Cruise. We've been prepping for it for like a year. We're so excited.
We are. So, well, before we leave though, Mike, let's talk about would we go back to Bay of Islands?
I would probably not make it a specific destination. It was beautiful. There's nothing wrong with Bay of Islands. People had a good time and people were wonderfully friendly. I would come back to New Zealand, but probably to South Island.
Okay.
I feel like I've kind of seen it. Bay of Islands remind me a lot, honestly, of Michigan beach towns. Kind of that, there's shops
The
and
vibe.
that vibe. There's, the boats and the beaches. And so probably for me, not. Again, nothing wrong with it. If your cruise is stopping there, it's going to make a great port for you, but not one of them that I think I would hunt out to go back.
That sounds good. I agree.
Okay. All right. Well, we will see you on our next video in Sydney as we ascend the Sydney Harbor Bridge. But before we sign off, we would like you to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. It always helps YouTube inform everyone about our videos.
Yes, it does. Thanks, friends, for being with us. We'll see you later.
Yeah. Bye-bye now.